So the context's been set when it comes to global drivers impacting businesses and how businesses should value human capital. We've gotten insights into leading trends and behaviors dominating the response to the changes from employees right through to employers from Bronwyn and Claire. And now in this final session, we're going to be bringing it all together with some leading edge solutions and recommendations to better equip you to make an impact in your business and amongst your employees as well. Zandile is back with us again, and joining us now as well is her colleague Alisha Corbett. Alisha is Liberty's head of Umbrella Solutions and then managing director at Evalex Talent Solutions, Hendrik Bronkhorst, with us too. So welcome to you all. Thanks so much, Alisha and Hendrik, for joining the conversation this morning. Together, we're going to try and make some sense of all that we've heard so far in a practical way so that businesses are in fact better equipped to navigate their way through it all. Because like we've mapped out, it's a complex map we're looking at. Zandile, I'm going to start off with you and look specifically at Bronwyn's opening two trends. Inflation is here and the Great Resignation, the latter happening despite the former, right? And it confirms what you were saying, that we've got complexity impacting at so many levels with continuous change happening across the skill spectrum and the demand for those skills shifting in tandem.
Definitely. So we can't control inflation. It's going to happen to us. It's going to affect businesses who stock, who are looking at customers that can't deal with that. But we can navigate that through the skill set that we have. So if you have committed employees, they will be able to assist you just to make the right moves. Where sourcing is required, they will make those changes. They will make suggestions to you just in terms of how to navigate that. And therein lies the benefit of having a good skill set and a valued employees in your organization. They will understand exactly what is needed when it is needed, and hopefully will have the autonomy to take the organization in that direction as and when they need it. Yeah. So this is why we really need to value employees at critical times like this, when the world is in turmoil and we're not really sure what's going to happen next.
So Hendrik, looking at this operating environment within which businesses live, what does this mean for the business leader and owner?
Thanks, Alisha. Yes, if we hear this war on talent, all the trends that are happening, and in my mind, I've kind of seen it as breaking down into three things that are going to happen to us. The first one is labor shortages. We've got a supply and demand issue, and that's going to drive up the costs. And costs of hiring, costs of upskilling, costs of growing people. But to me, one of the most important things is it's going to have an effect on productivity. And productivity is going to be impacted probably in two places. When people are doing work that is not meaningful to them, when people are chasing units, not value, when people are doing repetitive types of work, there's a loss of motivation and a loss of productivity. And then secondly, when people are under pressure, and their bosses are under pressure, and their wives and husbands are under pressure, and their kids are under pressure, you have a drop in wellness, and you have a drop in health and feeling healthy, and that's going to drive a drop in productivity as well.
What I hear is costs going up, productivity going lower. So to Zandile's point earlier, human capital can be a straight line to profitability. How do businesses remain competitive despite the scenario?
If we try and simplify it, then I think maintaining your current workforce, or at least your strong, talented, capable, high-performing individuals, and then remaining attractive to new entrants into the markets and new candidates for your role, and even remaining attractive for your own people as well.
Yeah. Alisha, let's get a bit practical at this point. As far as remaining attractive to current and future employees goes, how's the team at Liberty Corporate thinking about all of this, and what kind of approach have you adopted?
Well, Alisha, I mean, in today's session, Bronwyn took us through this changing world that we're in terms of the world of work, the Great Resignation, spiritual wellness, and the trends. And as Hendrik just mentioned, there's this key focus on wellness. So in order for organizations to become corporates of choice in this changing world of work, they have to become differentiators. And in order to differentiate themselves and to become corporates of choice, they need to enhance their offering by offering sweeteners. So how do they do that? They need to incorporate in their total reward structures benefits or sweeteners for employees, all right? And that is benefits and sweeteners that are not only focused on remuneration, the financial side of things. Now, we all know that that's extremely important. We need to live, we need to pay our bills. But wellness, as Hendrik mentioned, is equally as important, has become ever more important in light of COVID as well. So the total reward structure that organizations need to offer in order to become corporates of choice need to now offer these sweeteners that encompass care, encompass emotional well-being, so that it focuses on holistic well-being for employees. So in order to attract and retain top talent, and in order to optimize productivity of employees, a total rewards package needs to not only be focused on financial well-being and financial solutions, but also incorporate that emotional well-being and that care component, and have that emotional support solutions for employees.
You make it sound so easy, right? But it's a case of easier said than done. Do you think, given what Claire highlighted earlier today, there's enough of an alignment when it comes to employee and employer expectations?
I think there is. And I mean, and as we've seen, both locally and globally, there's a significant shift in terms of that alignment. There's a significant shift in terms of employers and their organizations actually incorporating emotional wellness and care as a key strategic intent within their organization. And that is then aligning organizational strategy and where organizations are heading to what is key in terms of employees' life and what is important, especially in light of COVID, for employees.
Absolutely. Very, very interesting, because previously, as you've highlighted, benefits have very much been associated with a financial package, something that people know Liberty well for, of course, but now employers needing to think beyond that and creating a holistic response to their employees at the end of the day. Before I ask you to unpack Liberty's approach a little bit further, Zandile and I chatted a little earlier, Hendrik, about the costly flight of talent, of experience from a business, and the impact that it can have on the bottom line and on profitability. Bronwyn highlighted how, as a part of the Great Resignation, employees are simply choosing a different employment model altogether. So give us some practical solutions on how employers can work to mitigate against this risk scenario.
Yes, so I think, to me, I tried to always think of it as a hand, heart, mind model. So if I use that as a thought process, I think we spoke a lot about complexity. We need to allow our people to deal with the complexity that they need to deal with. And each person's got an inherent capability to deal with their role, their environment, and what they need to do. And often I think what we find with our talent is we don't give them the opportunity to deal with that complexity. A simple example is, as leaders, we would often say, I don't have enough time to get what I need to get to. I'm not getting to the strategic elements that are important to me. I need to deal with problems that are not supposed to be on my job spec. And a practical application or solution to this is make sure that people can deal with the complexity of their inherent role. And that, unfortunately, or fortunately, boils down to something like making sure your recruitment and attraction processes are slick and smart and clever and attract the right type of talent. Making sure you get the right person into your organization.
I think what we miss sometimes is always seeing an organization and an employee separately as opposed to partners. And there are things in terms of how we structure benefits that will allow people to see that, you know. Having a very humanistic approach, understanding that moms have kids to take care of, and building that into your working model. The office environment needs to cater for people who are maybe disabled and are needing to move around. So just being able to put the human element back into the work environment and your benefit structure really changes things. If your benefit structure can't include your children or extended family in terms of medical aid, you can lose a lot of people because they'll be able to find that somewhere else. And I think those are some of the things that really allow us to differentiate and be there for employees in a way that allows them to really partner with an organization and create that long-term commitment in terms of, I know the organization is going to be there for me, and I'm also then going to be there for the organization.
Absolutely. And Hendrik, you know, what the formulation of a structure like that does is essentially work to provide a safe space for your employees at the end of the day.
And for people to flourish. If one think about human beings, is we want the opportunity to grow, we want the opportunity to become more, but we also want the opportunity to be cared for. And so your structures allow you to that. And Claire mentioned a very nice thing earlier on. She said sometimes we need to become human beings. And that comes quite down to the cause of care. And if you look at the word care, it comes from passion and intensity. And together with that, we need to infuse that passion and intensity into our workforce and treat them as human beings.
Absolutely. I mean, this is concise, practical, it's immediate, actionable steps that employers can actually get to working to and implementing on today. So thanks so much for that, Hendrik. Sandile, let's bring you back in here because this sounds like a very solid approach to building a human capital contingent that's worthy of a place on the balance sheet. Do you see businesses starting to think differently about what human capital represents on the balance sheet?
I definitely think that's the case. We are not seeing, we're gradually moving away from a very extractionary model where we just want to get out of the employee and send them home. And I think COVID has allowed a lot of that to happen, you know. There's much more appreciation and understanding of other commitments that people have in the workplace. There's a lot more appreciation for creating enough space for them to move around in terms of family responsibilities, home responsibilities, passions and hobbies. The ability to move out of the city and just be able to work in a remote location where the air is fresher, it not only benefits the employee, but it benefits the employer. And I think that is really what is making that move going forward, is that a lot of companies are seeing this come out in terms of increased productivity, you know. If people are not worried about their kids because the children are right there, they can just do so much more for the organization that they're with. And I think that balance sheet benefits is really what is actually moving a lot of corporates and organizations into a space of better care for their employees.
Yeah. And Alisha, it's that balance sheet benefit that should provide enough incentive to formulate this holistic approach that you touched on earlier. So let's get into the Liberty solution set in particular and what exactly you're putting on the table when it comes to offering and building suite packages for your future employees.
Sure. And Alisha, it's exactly that. It's a holistic approach. So we provide and support our clients with a holistic solution or a holistic approach that includes care. So care is key and it's critical for employers to understand the importance of care, the importance of emotional well-being, and the importance of providing that to employees. And COVID exacerbated its importance in terms of providing that. So at Liberty, we have solutions, employee benefit solutions that equip employers to be able to provide care and holistic well-being solutions to their employees. So those holistic well-being solutions then ensure that employees are looked after by their organization in terms of financial well-being, as well as emotional well-being and mental health. So having a look at the financial well-being, from a Liberty corporate perspective, the financial well-being solutions that we have encompass both retirement funding solutions and risk cover. And we all know with COVID, unfortunately, the need for risk cover and the importance of having risk cover has increased significantly. So in terms of our risk cover solutions, we've got death, disability, illness, education cover, which has become increasingly important for those rainy days, for those unexpected when life happens events.
And Alisha, I think the product is really saying, we're happy to take some of the worry away from you.
Exactly.
If an organization is offering you care for if something wrong happens to you, if you become disabled, if you leave your family behind, that really says to the employee that, this is an organization that's willing to carry my stresses with me or even take them away. And how much more is that person going to give back to the organization?
Exactly, Mandela. You hit the nail on the head. So Liberty Corporate is about care. We're in the business of care. So we want to ensure that employers are equipped with the solutions so that they themselves can care for employees. So that employees are feeling cared for because they and their families are financially protected and financially provided for should something unforeseen and unexpected happen.
Yeah.
So it is critically important.
But it moves beyond that, right? Because you're not just catering for the unexpected or down the line happenings. You're also living in the moment with your employees. So what are some of the examples where you're actually focusing on the now and alleviating some of the stresses that are impacting today?
Right. So having solutions that focus on emotional well-being and, as you say, alleviating their financial worries, alleviating their stress levels, and so therefore improving their emotional well-being and improving their mental health is critically important to include as organization sweeteners, so to speak. It's critically important to include as the benefits that they offer to their employees. So in light of COVID, COVID has caused increased pressure on mental health, and there has been increased focus that has been placed on mental ill health. So in light of that, organizations are looking at incorporating emotional well-being as a component in their total remuneration and total reward structure. And at Liberty Corporate, we equip employers to provide value-added services, which is assistance and emergency services, so that they can look after the emotional well-being of their employees. So that is things like trauma counseling, legal advice, and in order to reduce their stress and their worry, and therefore improve their mental health. On the topic of mental health, there's increased focus on organizations also incorporating mental health stress management tools within their total rewards package. So we enable employers to do exactly that with the benefits that we offer. And part of mental health stress management tools is to empower employees with education and knowledge. So we have what's called the Mind My Money Financial Literacy Program, which focuses on equipping employers to empower their employees with education and knowledge so that they are more informed about their financial circumstances and situation, so they're more comfortable and at ease when it comes to making financial decisions, especially when there's so much more increased uncertainty when something like COVID happens and has happened. And lastly, I want to mention, which has become significantly more important, is we know stress has increased, and stress has increased significantly because of COVID, in light of COVID, with the restrictions and the lockdowns. But more so, parent-specific stresses have increased. And you mentioned children. You mentioned children and having benefits that are specific to parents. So we all know that parents, no matter what the age of their children, they will always worry about their children. You will always be your parent's baby, no matter how old you are. So it's important to also have parent-specific stresses in terms of mental health resources and support that can reduce those parent-specific stresses within the sweeteners that employers offer to their employees. So at Liberty, we realize the increased stress that parents are under, given the homeschooling requirements and the closures of schools. So we created an education app in order to assist parents with that and reduce that stress.
Yeah, because that workload has really grown tenfold, right? So it really is remarkable just how much has changed in what seems like a short period of time. But it's good to know, at least, that as fast as change comes at us, so too do the solutions to reduce the impact and enhance the outcomes. And Zandile, it really does seem at the end of the day like the greater human capital is valued. There are leading edge insights, right, that are available to create these holistic solutions to meet employees where they're at today specifically. So thank you all for joining us in conversation today. It really has been such an enlightening discussion, and I already look forward to some of our future engagements and sessions too.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Alisha.
you very much.